It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by Agile Dad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. Is Agile still a buzzword? I can say that I know what my thought is, but I'm curious what Patrick Heller's thoughts are. He recently published an article, it was back in March, about Agile, more than 20 years of buzzword, and I thought that was interesting. And I don't know how you can consider something a buzzword if it's been around for 20 years or more. But in my eyes, I see Agile as evolving. I see Agile as evolutionary. I see Agile as deepening. And this may tie in very well to the podcast episode we did just shortly ago about what comes after Agile, right? Because I think that people who still think Agile is buzzword, well, they're off their rocker. So Patrick starts his article with how Agile keeps widening, deepening, and improving for more than 20 years. These days, we're so overwhelmed with everything Agile that it's easy to forget that not everyone is aware of all its terminology, especially if they are an Agile Coach / Scrum Master / product owner / whatever. Through occupational deformation, it's easy for us to get a blind spot and start using our own lingo. And I agree. I think that sometimes what people do is they wipe themselves with a title. They still do work as usual, adapt to whatever title it is, and move on. This is why I often say I forbid people talking about titles. I rather hear talk about responsibilities and coverage of responsibilities, regardless of what the organization chooses to call the title. Now, this brings interesting conversation because I see organizations who say, well, that's great, but without a title, and they try to tie it's a racy into titles and lock people down because people need to understand what their responsibilities are. But the truth is, if you present people with a list of responsibilities, it doesn't matter if you call them gummy bear number 74, they're still going to get the work done. So I think that part of this is to be able to go beyond definitions. But let's see where Patrick takes it. He says, he tells a story. He says, the other day I told someone to contact the product owner in order to get a user story on the backlog. So it should be refined during a refinement session, get estimated, and then picked up in a coming sprint. The vacant look and deadly silence on the other end of the screen made me realize that my waterfall of Agile words was leaps and bounds too far for someone who had never interacted with an Agile team. So, first we have to define what is Agile. Libraries could be filled with books on Agile. But let me suffice to say what Agile means in a nutshell. And this is his definition of Agile. His definition says the idea behind an Agile way of working is an organization that is able as a whole to respond to rapid change organizations have to deal with these days. Changes in sales market, technique, labor market, legislation, societal changes. You will require an Agile mindset in the entire organization to get the best result, which entails empowering people, working iteratively, in as short as possible cycles, focusing on delivering as much value as possible in a short a time frame as possible, and embracing transparency. Let me stop here. While a good definition, Patrick, kudos, it is way too long. For me, Agile is being mentally acute or aware. It's making key decisions quickly. It's being able to quickly inspect and adapt. Being 95 and still being very agile, right? It's applying thought process to work. It's about understanding what we need to do and marrying that to how we need to do it. And I think that if we can do that, that's going to give us the keys to really be able to embrace Agile and not get so hyper focused. So he continues, whether you use Agile frameworks like Scrum or Kanban or SAFe, or your own mix, like the Spotify model, because more and more organizations worldwide adopt Agile way of working, you'll see a widening taking place. The lanes are widening. Where at first, it was mostly IT departments and IT-focused organizations building software that started scrumming. Throughout the years, it's widened and taken root to sales, marketing, HR, other departments, etc. I agree. After the tech companies and other sorts of organizations, they started experimenting with Agile, like construction companies, schools, healthcare organizations, business, entertainment, a lot of entertainment companies. But next to the widening, there's also been a deepening, where Scrum Masters and Agile Coaches were at first often just developers or testers that did Agile stuff as a side job. Now we're starting to see this growing into a full-time life opportunity. It could be a job. And many people achieve coaching diplomas and delve into related disciplines like psychology. Wonder who that could be alluding to. Many of us have psychology degrees and learned how to do this after, just saying. But the coaching of teams in an entire organization usually has less to do with content than to do with functioning of individuals in those teams and organizations. That I couldn't agree with more. Dynamics are so important. The dynamics of a team are mainly determined by the way they work together with other team members. Experienced Scrum Masters and Agile coaches know that they benefit more from good coaching techniques than from profound knowledge of ticketing system or the way the organization handles whatever tool they're using. We need to make sure we're focused on the right thing. And I think that organizationally, that's what companies want too. But what I found is that they still struggle in some cases. So through the widening and deepening, the agile way of working gets better and better and more robust. 20 years strong, and we're still not fully developed. Agile is not always the easy thing to do, but it is the right thing to do, and it rewards value for the organization and for the people that do more with it. Overall, Patrick, bravo. I am a firm believer that if you find your wow, your way of working, and you choose the tools and pieces that allow you to get through the initial ideation of what you're trying to build and understand, and make sure that the idea is vetted and it's a good idea before you invest a lot of money in it. And you go through discovery where you build an MVP and figure things out before you get to delivery. And then once you get to delivery, you can build all the features around whatever you're trying to build and make it the best possible product or service on the market. And then finally, understand how you're going to release this product or service to your consumers so that it's small enough for them to take on and easily consume and get excited and provide feedback so that we can work through these cycles all over again. That's going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Daily Stand Up. If you have an idea for an episode or an article you'd like for us to read, like Patrick's, please feel free to reach out to us. By the way, Patrick, I'm going to drop a link to your article in the notes here in the description because I think overall you did a good job. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.